So good morning. My name is Ala McCoy. I am Director of Startup Support at the University of Maryland, and I'm very happy to welcome Alex Wang to talk to us about SBIR applications and how to simplify the process, how to understand them. So yesterday, Alex led part one of this conversation. It will be posted on YouTube, so if you didn't have a chance to attend it, you will be able to view it after it's posted. Just very quickly, if you could raise your hand to let us know if you had a chance to attend yesterday, please let us know. If not a whole lot of people attended it yesterday, then Alex will do a quick recap of yesterday's session. So Alex, I see 2 hands raised that people attended. So maybe you could do a quick recap. So again, please welcome Dr. Alex Wang. Alex is Business Development Director at Stanford University. Before joining Stanford University, he was Director of International Business Incubator here at the University of Maryland. And then Stanford stole him from us. So again, Alex is also a certified SBIR advisor. So I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic, stop my video, and Alex, please take it away.
Thank you, Ala, for inviting me to this great series. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to join us for part 2 of SBIR series. I'm Alex Wang. As Ala mentioned, I'm the Business Development Director working for Stanford, but I worked for UMD between 2017 and 2021 for 4 years. So I have deep connection with UMD and our innovation ecosystem. Without ado, I think I will spend about 3 minutes just quickly recap what we learned yesterday. After that, I'm going to move ahead to cover the remaining 4 funding agencies. A lot of them you probably will end up in apply one of them. And in between those 4 agencies, I may take 1 or 2 minutes pause in case some question coming up can get immediate attention. By saying that, Ala will help me and let me know when the question coming up or the technical issue in case the voice, the audio didn't work out. So Ala, please help me with that because I will see my presentation screen. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
By moving forward, here's what we covered yesterday. We covered the basic, what is SBIR and STTR. Those are the federal funding R&D money to the startup. By saying that, application need to come from startup. From the university side, we can collaborate through subcontract. The small difference between SBIR and STTR is STTR gives you more freedom if you participate from the university side. The key incentive for the startup people to apply for that, one is this is great reputation because only small portion of application will be funded. The other thing, those are the so-called free money. By saying that, they don't ask your equity, you don't need to pay back the loan. This just work like your basic research grant from NSF or NIH. On top of that one, more important from business sense, anything produced in the SBIR program, the IP will be yours. You will enjoy data protection right up to 20 years, which means any important innovation information will be between you and the federal agency. The other big corporation, in my word, I call them big fish, they cannot take advantage of that without negotiate licensing through you, okay? Not only that, SBIR can lead to sole source procurement, which means you are on track to become government contractor, vendor. To make things even better, you don't need to go through RFP and bid. They just directly one-on-one want to work with you, which is precious. SBIR, most of them have 3 phases. The first 2 phases, they are funded through SBIR. The third phase, in fact, that one can come through other format like government contract or the private sector contract or the other format, okay? Phase 1 typically 6 to 9 months, could occasionally run like 13 months. That one is proof of concept work. You can get up to $250,000. Phase 2 is big money, anywhere between $600,000 to $1.7 million, depending on the agency. That one can last 2 years. Typically, once you get phase 2, you are in good shape to have permanent full-time employee. There's variation of phase 2. For example, sequential phase 2, which means you can have the second one. There's also direct phase 2. There are a total 11 agencies from the SBIR. The top 5 largest agency is DoD, account of half of that. That one about $2 billion per year, followed by NIH, which is more than $1 billion. The other 3 large funding agencies are DOE, NSF, and NASA. You need to pay attention to eligibility. Those are the things you need to be small business. You shouldn't have majority holder as a large corporation or big venture capital. And also, you should conduct your work based in US. We are not going to go deep for the subcontract, but you know, one of the implications of some contract is there's a limit how much work you can contract out. And for the STTR, it gets even more interesting because the 30% work from university is mandatory. And then you could include third party, as one question came yesterday, you could include multiple party, subcontractor number 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want, but be aware of the paperwork and the business implication between you and those parties. The more you involve, the difficult the paperwork go, and in future, the risk to run into dispute could be higher. We briefly covered NIH yesterday because NIH is a very wealthy funding agency. I want to bring your attention to their phase 2 because you could get sequential phase 2, you could get matching phase 2, that one could be diluted, and also you can get a direct phase 2. And I think DoD and NIH, those 2 agencies, you'll probably see direct phase 2 in quite a lot of occasions. Not guaranteed, depend on the year. The other agency, either it is rare or I don't think they have direct phase 2. NIH, finally, you need to know they have 3 grant cycle solicitation per year. So every 4 months, you could see their topic and you could find the one you like. If you miss this one, and if you are lucky, as soon as in 4 months, you probably can put your application for the next deadline. So that's what we covered yesterday. So today we are moving forward for the other 4 agencies, start with NSF. As I mentioned, NSF is very popular among the first-time applicant or the early startup, including 1-person startup without recruiting that many people yet. NSF are very open to disruptive technology, which means if your technology carries high risk, in fact, they are interested in that. NSF, they have more than $200 million a year designated to SBIR or STTR. That will be enough to cover about 400 projects. And also based on my previous research, Maryland accounts about 5% of the total awardee, which means 5% times 400. From NSF, every year there are about 20 NSF awardee came to Maryland. So could you be one of those? Okay. NSF phase 1 can go up to $260,000. You can conduct 6 months work, and depending on the scope, they may allow you to do as many as 12 months work, okay? 101 phase 1, for all the agencies, the phase 2 awards, they will invite you if you are in phase 1. And if your phase 2 comes through, that can be 2 years of the work, a total of $1 million. As you notice, NSF is another agency. They have the derivative phase 2. In this case, that is a match funding, which means If you get $1 million from private investor, NSF can review your application, put up $500,000 matching. And this part, I think it is dilutive. So NSF have one aspect. There's only two agencies. The other one is Department of Energy, DOE. They need a pre-application. In an NSF, we call that one project pitch. In DOE, we call that as a letter of intent, okay? Essentially, before you can submit a full application proposal, you have to submit a brief version of that. What does a brief version look like? I think I have a slide down the way show you, okay? The way that one works is after you submit the project pitch, they will let you know within 1 month, are you invited to submit the full proposal? If you are, once you get the email of the invitation, you have up to 12 months to apply. The way for them to review the project pitch is rolling back. You can submit anytime you want, no deadline, no cutoff. But once you get the invitation, they will review by the end of every quarter. So for now, we are already in May. If you already get the email of invitation, you could submit your full proposal by the end of June. You will receive an email alert from them. You should to remind you to submit the full proposal. But if you miss that, that's okay, because the next time of the deadline will be the end of September. You get alert again. If you haven't prepared ready yet, the next one will be the end of December. They will keep sending you alert. In some occasion, once you get alert, the applicant asked me, is that mandatory? If I don't submit, I will miss it. I said that no, you have 12 months. If you miss this one or you think you can miss it, you probably let the project director know that you are going to submit, but this one is too hasty. You can let them know. Communication is always good, okay? In NSF solicitation, SBIR and STTR in separate documents. So there's SBIR solicitation, there's STTR solicitation. As I mentioned, NH have 3 deadlines per year. NSF is bad. They have 4 deadlines per year by quarter. So you don't need to worry, you miss a deadline, you have to wait another year. So that is not the case for NSF. You can, based on the tempo that work good for you, because you may just like 1 month, 2 months, or up to 2.5 months away for the next deadline. For all of the SBIR, STTR application, our webinar here only today and yesterday 2 hours is not that sufficient. When we did SBIR training cohort last year, I assigned homework to the trainee, which are you, to go back to do the homework research on the topic area. Every agency solicitation, they have topic area. How many topics are we talking about? Somewhere between 5 to a couple dozen, something like that. So at this slide, as a blue field, you can see those are the NSF topic area, okay? So for the other agency, they could be a little bit more strict. Essentially, you need to be specific which topic, and that's one better to fit, okay? For NSF, in fact, they give you a little bit freedom. Look at the right, the 4th item from the top, other topic. If your topic does not align with anything, you put that one into other topic. The other agency don't give you that. If they don't have that topic, you shouldn't apply for that agency, okay? So that tells you how open field the NSF, they want to encourage your innovation, okay? STTR of NSF have one unique aspect. If you recall, I mentioned one detail yesterday, that is becoming PI. If you don't want to quit your university full-time job, but you are the best candidate to lead the project, you should become the PI. Then if you apply for SBIR, that one probably will not help you, because if that work coming through, you are facing a dilemma. You need to quit your university job or change that one to part-time. STTR give you some flexibility. You can keep your university job, still become the PI of STTR, with an exception. Among 5 STTR agencies, NSF does not do that. NSF rule of the PI is the same between SBIR and STTR, which means if you want NSF STTR and you still want to become PI, you probably cannot keep your full-time job of university. So 1 out of the 5 STTR agency, unfortunately, that term is identical to SBIR. You also need a letter of support. So I think NSF asks you to submit 3 letters of support. There's a lot of questions coming through that. I probably mention a little bit in the next few slides when I briefly mention the iCorps, okay? A lot of you probably can give a try for the project pitch because this is not a big deal. First, there's no implication whether your application will be reviewed favorably, which means they like your project pitch, therefore you are more likely to win the award after full application. That's not the case. Project pitch is more for the administration purpose. First, they want to see that your interest will fit into one of the topic area. It's not misaligned, otherwise it's not convenient for them, okay? The other thing they want to see what kind of thing coming up, because sometimes NSF, I can't say for that. DOE, I know for sure, the letter of intent or pre-pitch, they want to use that one, identify the reviewer. They need some time in advance to line up a reviewer committee so that there will be right expert to review your proposal. And to bring those people on board, a lot of them are outside contractor under NDA. They need some time. So after you submit full proposal, they realize we need some very special reviewer and reach out to them. They are not available, they are travel. And then it will take very long time to finish review or proposal. And there's legislation, they need to come back to you in 60 days. So you see, that is for the administration purpose. For the project kit of NIH, they include the following 4 parts. Basically, you're looking at 3 pages. They need the first pillar, what is your technology, how innovative that one is. This one highly similar to a lot of basic research grant we write. The second one, you want to see the downside. The first part is pro. This is good, this is promising, and always now you go to caution. The con side, what is the issue on the market? Whether it's slow, whether it's cost pain, whether it's too risky, whether it's too expensive, okay? And what kind of challenge it is, and why your innovation is relevant. You must be faster, you must be lower cost, or it must make patients feel better, something like that, okay? So, and then they ask you to write up to 250 words, 1 or 1.5 paragraph. That is essentially the elevator pitch of your commercialization. Why do you want to make it? Who want to buy it? Something like that. In phase 2 commercialization, in phase 2 application, I warn you, this part can be 15 to 20 pages in NSF proposal alone. Here, you just get started, okay? Most importantly, but a lot of people forget, good project need to be done by people. So who are going to be hand-on on those ones? And who will be the PI? You need to line up the people. You may not have commitment that somebody already firmly, yes, will contract or join your team to work on that. But you still need to line up a few people, shape up the team. Is that good after you get invitation for the full proposal and you start to change the team member, the name or something? That I wouldn't say it is the best, but I think that one is still understandable. If you line up 4 people, you make change to 1, that I think that is not very uncommon. So that should be okay. But if you line up 4 people, 3 of them are gone, and you replace with 3 others, that probably will raise some attention because it is the expectation what kind of thing will come out. Essentially, the project page is not contractual committed, which means you have to stick with that. But the overall framework or the name or structure is already there it's not a good idea you make a major change because that one is also not very easy for them to review. But there's no, you have to stick with that. As long as the full proposal, there's no big surprise. We have 2 more slides for NSF. We have to mention how good the iCorps can help you, okay? I'm not going to go to the detail of iCorps because Venture series, I think they have a video on iCorps, and also Ella and other directors, they are more involved in iCorps. I just want to let you know iCorps can become big help when you apply for SBIR, especially make the commercialization part of the writing very powerful. And somebody asked in yesterday's webinar, if you've been through regional, national iCorps, will that one enhance your success rate to get awarded? The answer is firmly yes. The only matter is different people have different understanding. It may double your chance. My take could be like as much as triple your chance, which is from 15% to as high as 40%. And some people even more optimistic. I heard the number that some people believe after iCorps, you may have 60% success rate. But no matter what the number is, the iCorps is a big help. It's making commercialization part very convincing. So I want to put everything into a context because eventually we are launching a startup. We just talk from the money point of view, only one aspect of the startup, okay? Where do we read the money? Without iCorps SBIR, you are looking at the bottom. That data, I read that one from some research. It's probably not that bad as low like that. Let's just say it's 1% or less than 1%, which among startup, we all reach out to venture capital. Venture capital talk to nearly 1,000 of startup projects per year and only fund a few, no more than 10. So you're looking at 1 out of 100 startup, they get lucky and get investment from venture or other equivalent, okay? So not only that's not easy. 1 out of 100, almost like lottery. If you didn't get this chance, where do you improve? Is there any kind of milestone you can become better? There's no such kind of thing. But when you include iCorps and SBIR, those very smart initiatives driven by the federal agency, the thing get a little bit easier, okay? Because for example, if you follow those kind of format, you really work on iCorps. Whether you also go through national or only regional doesn't matter. And you may more likely to get your SBIR sooner and easier, okay? As I mentioned, SBIR phase 2 is really a big money, and you have to become phase 1 awardee so that they can invite you for phase 2. But fortunately, from phase 1 to phase 2, the success rate, in fact, is better. It's somewhere between 40 to 45%, which means once you are in phase 1 awardee club, 1 out of the 2 chance you probably will get phase 2. It's only matter you get immediately or you have to rewrite your proposal in another few months, okay? Yesterday, I also mentioned phase 2 can serve as a big leverage because once you are in phase 2, there's implication of bigger corporation may want to license you, want to buy you out, or they start to understand there may be interest from NASA, DoD, they want to contract your technology for multiple years. Essentially, you are looking at a major key client account. Investment worlds are filled with smart people. When they see you are in phase 2, they smell the money. They are willing to invest when you are in phase 2, about to complete phase 2, or even before phase 2, because when you put phase 2 proposal together, again, you need to line up letter of support, quite a lot of them. One kind of letter support is from potential investor. You have friend or you have connection, you talked with VC before, as a VC partner to write that one up. VC people will love that. Why? First, they don't really have commitment. I need to put in money now. I'm just interested, okay? No firm commitment. The other thing, they reserve the ticket. They are helping you. They give you a favor, providing letter support. When you are doing really well in phase 2, you want it, good news, and your phase 2 looks really well, they probably know that because the relationship already there, they help you for the supporting letter, and then they will be the first in line to talk about invest in your company. Believe me, when your phase 2 looks really good, it's not you go after VC and it will be VC waiting in line at your doorstep, okay? So they will be happy. They already put a token of the friendship before you even get phase 2. So in summary, let me align this model almost like a college, okay? So when startup go to VC, that is get college degree. When you go to iCorp, you are the freshman. You did a lot of interviews. Those are hard work, but you learn from that. The one skip freshman iCorp, you may be able to do well in phase 2 because you just sleep and party too much in freshman. You just mess that up, but you still can make phase 2 if you really work hard, okay? But iCorp, those are very good freshman student, self-discipline. They get phase 2, they get phase 1 sophomore, very good, okay? Among the sophomore, everybody bid on phase 2, that is the junior year, okay? If you get phase 2, you are doing very well in the junior year, you become star, your GPA go way above 3.8, okay? And that is the time a lot of good things offer, good internship, good job offer, you're heading to very successful senior year, that is your graduation, okay? So before I move on to the next field agency, I can take a pause here, and also Alan, allow me to take 1 or 2 minutes to quickly respond that message. I will mute myself just briefly, okay?
Yes, thank you. Please feel free to submit any questions that you may have, and I just wanted to very quickly to cover what the resources and what the recommended path is at the University of Maryland. So I just submitted so there's a link to University of Maryland iCorps in your chat. So you can apply and do University of Maryland is a regional iCorps. It's a 2-week program. Typically, you would go through the 2-week program. If you have time and commitment, you could apply for the national iCorps, which is a 7-week program. It's a lot more intense, and it also comes with $50,000 in funding. After that, you would typically apply for MII Technology Validation Phase Grant. And please keep in mind, this is all before you even start the company. So you're doing this as a researcher at the university. Funding through MII comes to you as a research funding. Having at least regional iCorps under your belt will give you, a lot more chances of getting the actual MII funding. So after that, you would form startup, license IP into the startup, apply for MII company formation grant, which will give you very quick initial funding. In the meantime, that's when you would be applying for the SBIR Phase 1 grant. It takes a little bit more time, so MII money will allow you to kind of wait until it will allow you to tide over until you get your SBIR money. So I see Alex is back, and also David Steele just posted information about the next UMD iCorps. Any questions? So David is one of the people who runs. He's the manager for the program. Please feel free to ask him or ask me, and I'll put you in touch with David.
Yeah, thank you, Ala. Yes, I'm back. By the way, hi, Dave. Dave and I, we were both in the iCorps program. I learned a lot from them. In fact, those kind of things, as Ala mentioned, in tandem, iCorps will help SBIR in big way. And after iCorps, a lot of high performer trainee from iCorps, in fact, they are ready to get some R&D money, and MII and SBIR, that few source, those are very good for source, okay? So I don't know whether there's question. If no more, I'm moving on for the next three funding agency. And when you have question, you can put that one in text, or we can save all the question by the end of the presentation. So let's move on. Next, we move on to Department of Energy. One of the top 5 agencies also have STTR, okay? So you may wonder, why do I put Lannister, Cersei, and Jaime Lannister here? Because that is something unique to the DOE, okay? Let me explain to you. When DOE makes their announcement for the solicitation, SBIR and STTR, they are in the same announcement and the same solicitation. They are together. They don't separate. I call them twins. So now you understand that those are the twins. DOE is a twin model. The other agencies, they don't do that. I mentioned yesterday, NIH, you have clinical SBIR, you have clinical STTR, you have non-clinical SBIR, non-clinical STTR for every 4 months. You need to go after one of those 4 to look at which one you fit, okay? In DOE, there's only one. There's only one. And also, they make early announcement of the topic before they release the solicitation, which typically 5 weeks after. You may see what kind of topic will be up sometime in early July, I believe. And the FOA, that one will come a little bit after. As I mentioned in NSF, there are only 2 agencies at the pre-pitch. In DOE, that one called letter of intent. That one also is mandatory because you will see the application deadline maybe in sometime in mid-October for the first announcement. But you can't wait for that one to submit. You have to submit your LOI before Labor Day. If you miss that or you didn't know there's such kind of thing called LOI, you're out of the log. You are not eligible to submit the full proposal. So there's a hidden deadline for those kind of things. I don't use the word hidden deadline in NSF because you can submit your project pitch anytime you want, rolling basis. But that is a matter for DOE, and do not overlook that. I can't say enough. If you really fit in DOE, first get your things together, put the LOI, and then you'll probably still have 5 to 6 weeks to close your full proposal. That is the take-home message. They have their own register. As I mentioned, other than the big 3, you also need to look at the agency-specific register, and also different agencies have different websites ask you to submit. And also, was that DOE or another agency? Why read through their guidance? They are specific. The proposal should be submitted by PC. If you are using Mac, you may encounter some issue, okay? So those kind of detail, look into that. I think it might be DOE. I have to check. If that's the case, you get everything together. 5 p.m. is the deadline. You want to submit by noon time, but suddenly you realize everything on the Mac format, and then you are in trouble, okay? The other nice thing is, as I mentioned, SBIR money is for R&D. There are some small pockets come along with SBIR or included SBIR you can use for non-R&D. DOE is one example that could be useful to you because a lot of you need a lot of resource to put up the IP, okay? That is the question we heard a lot. If you want DOE phase 2, at least the past 2 years, they allow you among, I think DOE maybe $700,000 for phase 2. Among that amount, you can take 15,000 up to 15,000, that money to do your IP stuff, either as a patent fee or probably you can get an IP attorney and you can pay for that. So that is rare. I don't think the other agency have that. So once you're on DOE, make sure you understand there's such kind of term. You probably should take advantage of that. DOE money is a little bit more than NSF, okay? In recent 2 years, we are looking at somewhere very close to $300 million per year. Their winning rate is not too bad. Among 1,600 applicants, about a quarter of them, almost a quarter of them get award. In this pie chart, you also see recommended but not awarded, because those proposals are good, but this year we don't have that much money. You should be encouraged, because if somehow the new money shows up, you may get awarded, or the funding agency director, you should talk to them, understand what's the scope. Next year, should I submit again next year or the next cycle? Or should I make some changes? Maybe I can score higher. You talk about that, because those 19%, in fact, you are doing well. This is the timeline I talked to you, okay? So DOE, they have those kind of timelines. The nice thing, they also have the sequential phase 2. That is good, because previously I thought it's only DoD and NIH have that. Some year, I can't tell whether that's always the case, or in certain year, DOE, they do have the sequential. I think that would be depend on funding. If they get a lot of budget, I think the sequential, so they should do that one every year. Let's recap to look at the DOE timeline, because this one's slightly tricky, as I mentioned. On the top one, you see they are going to announce topic. Before the forward come out, you probably have 1 month to review the topic. Once forward come out, you have to hurry up, because it's probably just 3 to 4 weeks down the line, you put 3 pages letter of intent and submit on their website. Otherwise, you will miss this deadline for good, okay? About 5 to 6 weeks after you submit the letter intent, you need to submit the whole application. One small difference between NSF and the DOE is when you submit the project page to NSF, you are going to receive a letter of invitation, which means NSF respond to you, that's good news. If they don't respond to you, you have to wait, because they're still reviewing that, or maybe they don't invite you, okay? If there's news from NSF, that's good news. In DOE, it's opposite. If there's news, they respond to you, that's bad news. If they email you, that probably tell you they discourage you to submit. You can still submit, but that's probably not the way you want. If you never hear from them, you already get the green light, which means when they are silent, go ahead to submit your full proposal. Okay, so in DOE, no news is good news. But when you submit LOI on their website, they are going to generate a track number. You need to save that, because when you submit the full proposal, they will ask you the track number. Those are all the small details, which I shouldn't tell more due to the time, okay? For the DOE, they have 2 announcements a year. On the first release is always in July, topic coming out. The second release coming out in November, okay? One thing to clarify, they cover different topic area. Some topic area, as I think, including quantum technology, you will see some in the first release. The same topic, you may not see that in the second release. So you shouldn't assume if I miss the first release, I can apply for second. Don't. It's maybe your topic is not there at all, okay? So topic research is very important. I encourage you, whatever agency you think you might align with, you start to look at what kind of topics they release in the previous years, because year over year, there are some changes of their interested topic, but not by big, okay? So that's DOE. Next, we go to the remaining 2 agencies, start with NASA. NASA SBIR, the reputation is interesting. You might heard it's difficult or something. I wouldn't say that. NASA SBIR have certain good things. For example, its award rate is relatively high. NSF, last time I talked to NSF director, he mentioned it's somewhere like 12% get awarded. NASA can go as high as 24 and 27, depending on the year. 1 out of the 4, you might get awarded, okay? There's also a reason for that, because the speculation, NASA is difficult to apply. fewer applications submitted to NASA. NSF is very friendly to early startup and first-time comer, okay? Because of that, there are many more people, they want to apply for NSF because the bar seems a little bit lower. So it's a computation, okay? So what we see in NASA is a big funding agency, $200 million more or per year. And every year they fund quite a lot of the award. And for phase 2 alone, you're looking at 140 phase 2. Let's still use the Maryland rate, 5% come to Maryland, which means on average, Maryland will probably are getting 7 SBIR phase 2 award. That in fact is quite sweet. 7 phase 2 award to Maryland, that is somewhere between $5 to $7 million to our local economy and can create quite a lot of jobs, okay? So let's have a look. NASA have a few aspects different from others. I'm not going to get into switch between SBIR and STTR. I just let you know, NASA is very clean cut. They don't allow you to switch between the two programs. I'm not going to elaborate because that will take quite a lot of time, okay? I will say all of the SBIR work, including subcontract work, they ask you to perform in United States. The reason why, those are the taxpayers' money. Those money should be used to create American job, not create overseas job. But because sometimes the material, the technology, the equipment, or the expertise, those are not available in United States. NASA and the DoD, they could review your request, have a waiver or exemption so that some of the work, for whatever reason, maybe it can be performed in Germany, for example, and that one need to go through their system. I don't know how frequent that one come up, but try not to play into that kind of scenario because you need to go to approval process. The other thing is, I think NIH allow co-PI and NASA doesn't do that because that question coming a lot. One thing make NASA difficult, or some people say NASA is strange or weird. Other agencies, they ask you or they encourage you to have letter of support. NASA doesn't take it. You could include letter of support, but that one will be counted into pages. I think NASA phase 1 page limit is 15 pages or 20. Let's say it's 15 pages. If you include 3 letters of support, 1 page for each, you only have 12 pages left to write your proposal. That is a big loss. Whoever wrote your supporting letter, those are just blank paper. NASA pretends those kind of things never exist. It does not help and it won't hurt your application. So it's just like non-event, okay? So pay attention to that one because I talked to the student trainee that when you think about SBIR or you already do the iCorps, you need to think about some of the people have friendly take of your technology. You may want them come up letter support when you put the proposal together. Therefore, you need to be pleasant, follow up, compliment a little bit. But when you think about NASA, don't even bother. You don't need to suck up anybody because NASA doesn't take letter support. So just be stone-faced to the people you talk to, okay? We shift the gear, go a little bit more for NASA as example, because NASA have some supporting or auxiliary program coming along with SBIR. Personally, I really appreciate those programs. I wish the other agency also coming up the same program. The first one is TABA. That one is Technical and Business Assistant. NASA is not the only one. TABA probably, I will say, a lot of funding agency or more than half SBIR agency, I think they have TABA when you apply for SBIR. Those are the non-R&D money you can apply along with SBIR. If your SBIR coming through, most likely they also give you TABA money as long as you include that request in the application. What can you do with TABA money? Because phase 1 Some agency, I think, gave you 5,000, but most likely you are looking at 6,500. Phase 2, I think the real number is 25 grand per year. For some agencies, they gave you 2 years, a total of 50. But some agency, the whole package 2 years is like 25, but still it's some money, okay? Look at the right hand, you can use TABA money for a few non-R&D items, okay? You can hire consultant. They do the marketing research or manufacturer planning. You can hire accountant to prepare your account or help you to put up the budget for another proposal even, okay? You can use those money again to pay IP, because the reason I highlight IP is there are quite a lot of people ask where the resource and do you have IP lawyer pro bono or something. It's always coming up. IP is getting expensive. Now you can use TAPA money. The last time I mentioned is DOE. You can use 15 grand of phase 2 money to file IP. TAPA allow you to do that. Okay, so try to take advantage of those. NASA have a very neat program, which is an intern pilot program, okay? The way they do that one is college student, probably junior year, most likely, will apply for NASA summer internship. They apply for NASA. If they apply for this program, NASA will direct them to your company if you want SBIR. They give you free intern. Why that one matter? Because if you think from the college student point of view, they need a very shining name on their resume, either Fortune 500 company or prestigious federal agency, something like that. As a new startup, the disadvantage of you is your brand recognition is not that strong. So even though your technology is very good, but for student intern, they work for a startup which very few people heard about. That's probably not as attractive as working for big name company or NASA NIH, because those can really enhance your resume. So in fact, this program is so smart because of that. The student will regard NASA as their internship, but they are working for highly innovative company like yours. From your side, you get a free labor, at least for the summer, okay? And the skill set can cover quite a lot of range because NASA recruit nationwide, okay? And also student one enter this program, those are supposed to be very good students at the top of their class. I won't be surprised to see you get the best student from UMD, Johns Hopkins, Carnegie Mellon, and Ivy League, MIT, you name that. So pay attention to this. When you apply for SBIR, you should include this term. You may be surprised how talented those young labor force are. The last one I want to bring your attention is mentor program. At UMD, we also have mentor program which get very good feedback. We wish to have more mentor to help us to grow a startup. NASA have that one. Again, when you apply for SBIR, you can register for that one. You will be Protege, which means you are the student. Mentor come from the yellow field, the right hand, those big name company, okay? I'm pretty sure when you see this name, some of you, your eye will shine because those are your potential future. You may contract for them. They may buy your license. You may sell their product to them, or they may just invest in you, okay? So those are the name, a kind of key client account in my dream, okay? So something like that. So when you get into those programs, some professional from those companies, they will serve as a mentor. They may be director of their R&D, commercialization, or federal contract or something. They will mentor you, okay? You are going to learn a lot how the system works and what is their experience to commercialize or manufacture. And they may provide advice where to get a resource or partnership. In fact, there's also personal relationship. They start to know you, like you, they trust you. there's a possibility you may be one step closer to their company and become their contractor, okay? And that is under the NASA program. Of course, there will be some boundary like conflict of interest, but this program, and I think they set up very nice framework so that bring you closer to the big corporation, become the network in their procurement or investment. So I think this is a great initiative. So that's NASA. The last agency we want to go is DoD. Let me look at the time. So I will wrap up DoD, and we are going to go through question, and Alec can help me to collect the question.
Thank you so much, Alex. This has been great. So we have about 7 minutes left in the session, and please feel free to submit your questions. So we have our first question. Hello, thank you again for your presentation. What is the chance of success in getting VC funding if one takes all the right steps? UMD, iCorps, National iCorps, MII, SBIR.
Yeah, I don't have the number. At least I will be, say, 1-0 less. If the average rate is 1%, and if you are phase 2 awardee of SBIR, STTR, I will say you probably are looking at 1 out of the 10 something. That at least my vision, because if I were running a VC, I will prioritize the pool of phase 2 and see this will be very enriched, and I'm likely to find a very good company. If I don't see anything from phase 2, I will go to non-SBIR company, but I have to review many more company, and they are all over the map. I will be lucky to see something good. Essentially allow me to see SBIR and phase 2 for the investment work. Those are the Ivy League college students I want to recruit. The ones who have never been to iCorps, SBIR, I regard them homeschooled. They may have the knowledge, and occasionally they have something even better, but I'd rather to trust who have been through the college education system.
Yes, thank you. And I can just add real quick is that venture capitalists love seeing SBIR and other grant money that the company has used because it's non-dilutive funding, which means that the funding that you raised to further advance your technology, you didn't have to give up any parts of your company to other people. By the time you got to a VC, which means that there's a larger chunk or larger chunk to divide and to for the company to grow with. So the like scene, and it also is sort of like a stamp of approval. It shows commitment. It shows all the right things, but then again, of course, you have to also present a very compelling case to AVC for them in order for them to invest. So those are all nice to haves, but doesn't guarantee VC funding.
Okay.
So let's see. I don't see any other questions. If anybody also wants to raise your hand and ask your question, I can unmute your mic. Okay, Lena has a question. Lena, would you like to ask? Okay, so you're typing. Okay, Lena is typing. Okay, Lena, let me unmute your mic, and you can ask your question. That way might be easier. Let's see. All right, go ahead. You can unmute yourself and ask question. We cannot hear you. You're still muted.
Yeah, well, we are waiting for Lena. Let me do this. We still have a few minutes. I can briefly go through DoD if that's okay. Okay. DoD, they have the most funding, a total nearly $2 billion. One thing you need to know about DoD, they are not all together. They have released together, but individual agencies, they run their own SBIR and STTR. That I refer them Stark because you have multiple wolves, okay? So the typical cycle of DoD is also 3 times a year. So they have physical 1, 2, 3. When you see the numbers, those are the SBIR release. When you see the letter A, B, C, those are the STTR release, okay? And then the time will look like that. Every 4 months, you're going to see some, okay? The agencies participate in the SBIR STTR. The biggest three are the Army, Navy, Air Force, and the other name we mention quite often is DARPA. So those are the major name you mentioned, while the big three are those top three one. DoD have something interesting because they follow the legislation and policy a lot. For example, since last year, you may not be surprised to see more funding or solicitation heading to hypersonic, okay, because facing the competition from China and Russia. The other thing is quantum technology, because UMD is very strong in this field. So we see more and more funding resource heading to quantum technology. So when you see the DoD modernization priority, you probably get a hint. A lot of SBIR, STTR funding probably will emerge in those. Army, SBIR, STTR structure look like this. And all of them go along with Army Research Institute in the East Coast, most of them. In Maryland, we have quite a few, including the one just a few miles away in Adelphi, I believe. One thing I complain about the Army SBIR, I'm not the expert of that, but when I look at the SBIR solicitation and website or something, it's not easy to navigate. I can't find a clean checklist or something. I hope it is somewhere, just I didn't find it, or Army should do a better job because there are many pieces you need to put together. And Army solicitation, or at least what I see, is not that easy for us to navigate. But by saying that, we have some folks, they won the Army award. Navy is the one, in fact, I like better because their process or the application pieces, when you look at their guidance, it's pretty clean cut. And also Navy money is quite a lot. You can get up to $1.5 million for phase 2. And again, there are quite a few Navy base and research institute in our neighborhood. And University of Maryland, we have good collaboration with them. So when you apply for DoD, remember there's a unique registration, which is DoD submission website. You can use GrantGov or something like that. So the military have their own site and you need to go along with theirs. We are not going to go through the payment, but Navy, DoD, they also have TABA. As I mentioned, their phase 1 TABA is $6,500. Phase 2, they can give you as much as $25K. When you apply for SBIR, this will be included in the whole application, but in a different segment or package. When you see that one and you think you do want those money, you need to fill in that application too. Do not take for granted. I apply for SBIR and I see TABA's name. I just think whenever I want SBIR TABA coming through, I will have that one too. Now, you do need to fill in the TABA part of application as a whole package. Finally, we just briefly touch base with DARPA because DARPA is a very frontier thinking agency among all of the DoD. The remaining DoD, I would say they probably need to, they probably appreciate the technology innovation reliable. Because one thing is how frontier, how good it is. The other thing is there's no error, no mistake, because those kind of things are not going to do very well, not only in the battlefield, but also similar kind of mindset of NASA. They can't afford those kind of error or slip when they put thousands of the pieces together and launch to the moon, okay? So DARPA is an exception. DARPA will be more willing to go further. A little bit NSF, highly innovative, some risk, and willing to try the best because the goal of the DARPA is they try to have competitive edge technically than the other country. So in DARPA, you are going to see some interest to the latest technology. For example, I want to bring your attention to information innovation. A lot of your innovation fall into that area. The other thing is UMD, we have very strong technology of the life science. A lot of people assume life science stuff go to NIH as number one, NSF as number two. In fact, the DoD, especially DARPA, you see a lot of that. If you get DoD biotech money through SBIR and STTR, it's even better because down the way they're thinking to buy it. Okay. So by saying that, that is all the content I want to present today. For the remaining few minutes, I let Ala to help me to modulate the question if there's any.
Yeah, so Lena was able to type up her question. How can small internal research and development programs within large companies look for partnerships with startups to do more research needed to do R&D of their products? Are there any SBIR promoted connections similar to the NASA intern example, but applied to corporations and startups?
Yeah, that one, the question probably need to clarify, but I think I pick up some of that. One thing is, if I'm interested to collaborate with large corporation, let's take Lockheed Martin, for example. My technology highly relevant to their system or platform. Is there any way I can get some money from Lockheed Martin similar? They want to include the startup technology. That one I don't have sure answer. So depend on which corporation, what kind of initiative, they probably have some information on their website, or you can bring up when their people visit us, okay? The other side of the question is, if you are working with SBIR, can you include Lockheed Martin as your partner or something? The answer is yes. You can always use them as your subcontractor. As I mentioned last time, if you subcontract your SBIR or STTR, you can choose university, Federal Research Development Lab, FFRDC, federal funded R&D lab. You can choose a solo consultant, okay? You can choose another small company, another startup. And finally, you can choose big corporation. You can use IBM, Amazon, Lockheed Martin, whoever agree to work with you as subcontractor. By saying that, typically their overhead may be high, just keep that in their mind. And also, I think Lockheed Martin is one of them. They have the team or division specifically respond to your interest of SBIR. They have special team. They know how the things work, and then they have their process to handle that. And I hope those answers can help part of your question.
Thank you, Alex. I also wanted to add that MIPS is a University of Maryland program that's also a good R&D program for either a small or large company. And I can provide more information if interested. So I think that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much, Alex. It's been very informative. You spent a lot of time with us. I will post both today's session and yesterday's session on YouTube, and once they're processed, I will email everyone with links so you can watch it again, and please feel free to reach out to me with any questions.
Yeah. If there's any interest, any question or something, you probably have my contact information, or better yet, let Ala know. Ala will coordinate so that I probably can answer some of that if I can. And also, if there's more interest from our UMD community about SBIR, Ala and I, we can talk and probably figure out something for our people, okay?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you to everyone who attended and stuck to the end. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.